back to the one, the only, the WyOriginal Podcast. We are your hosts, Jarrod Burton.
Angel Maldonado.
I'm Dominic Syracuse.
Campbell.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get it poppin'. Check it out. Welcome to episode 2, everybody.
Oh, yes.
This is super exciting.
Definitely, for sure.
Yo, this is great. We have a very special guest in the studio with us. I have the privilege of introducing this man. Now, I thought I knew him the longest out of everyone here, but apparently that ain't correct. We're going to get into that in a sec. But it is my honor to introduce our city council president, representative of the Cheyenne Animal Shelter, and the Historic Preservation Board. This dude has helped out the community in a million different ways, served on the board of directors for Art Cheyenne. He's been serving as a public servant for like the longest time, and he is most known for his fundraising efforts in completion of the Cheyenne skate park and downtown splash pad, which is dope. You already know him. You already love him. Mr. Richard Johnson.
Let's get that. Let's talk about it.
What's up, Rich?
And not too much. I thought you were going to come in shooting. You told me you were going to, that I gave you free reign to say whatever you wanted, and you already said.
Okay, let me start with this. Your name is Richard Johnson, which can be translated as penis. Ladies and gentlemen,
let's go.
Our city council representative, penis. That's how we're starting. We aren't even a minute into the podcast, and that's where we're going. No, I'm just playing. Rich, we love you, but hold on. Now, like I said, I thought I knew you the longest here, but it turns out you've known someone here on the WyO round table a little longer.
Yeah, because I knew you were at the skate park with Mike and everybody.
Yes.
But I didn't really know you, but so I've known Johnny probably, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years.
But how do you know Johnny? Tell us, how did y'all meet?
I think at the library.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Really? And can we, wait, hang on real quick. We're going to get into all this. Rich has done amazing stuff for the community, is still doing amazing stuff for the community. But I got to talk about the right here and now since we're talking about Mr. Johnny Campbell. Can we talk about how good Johnny looks right now? Look at you. Yeah. Look at you.
Yeah.
It's 7 and 8. Of course, this is just how I look, y'all.
Honestly, I really don't ever expect nothing less from Johnny. You know, he comes in hot all the time, bro. I don't care how it is, if it's too classy, if it's right on time. He's hot all the time.
It's 7 in the morning, and we're all sitting there going, "Where's Johnny? Where's Johnny? Is he coming this morning? Is he coming?" And he walks in wearing, he's got the chain, he's got the hat, he's got the nice turtleneck, and we're like, "Dang, you look good." He's like,
I do. And we're all in like jackets and hoodies and t-shirts, and he's in his Sunday's best. It's all good though. We know who's the favorite.
One thing about Johnny though, like he'll tell anybody, he's definitely plugged in today.
Oh, for sure.
He's plugged in, for sure.
Yeah. Also, Angel, the braids are looking good, man.
Oh,
you are looking super fresh. There's some intricate work going on up there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't have enough camera angles to show all the intricate work, but I'm just keeping it in the buck, though. Check it out. It's okay. Lolly, Ethnic Hair Care, she's in the presidential walking Fridays as of right now, and then as the summer gets more closer, it'll be Wednesdays and Fridays walking. So definitely walk in, come get your braids, your twists. And also, shout out to my barbers, Adrian Montes, always keeping me fresh. Baby J, Trey, appreciate you guys. And let's get into it.
Let's get it.
All right, Rich. So you had mentioned, I want to start from the very beginning where I knew about this, because a lot of people don't know about this, and it's a cool ass story. You mentioned back in the day at the skate park. Okay, now, for those that don't know, Rich was instrumental in getting us a skate park. Let me tell you my point of view, and then I want you to tell me the whole story. So one of my best friends in the whole world, he used to skateboard all over, and the city was going to make it like illegal or something. Kids were going to get tickets for skateboarding downtown. Wow. And my buddy who was only like 14 years old at the time went to city council and was like, "Listen, this is my main form of transportation. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just need to get from one place to another. However, if we had a place to skate, we wouldn't have to be jumping down rails downtown or whatever."
Definitely.
And then my buddy, again, shout out, his name is Tariq Salih. He's now working for the CDC, and he's a doctor, and he's an amazing guy. Point is, All of a sudden he goes, yo, we just got $25,000 from Tony Hawk to build a skate park in Cheyenne. Wow. And it turns out this gentleman right here was responsible for the whole thing. Rich, tell us that story. What happened there?
So actually, I've been involved since 1989 when I was in high school.
Yeah, talk that.
There's been a skate park. Hold on. Sorry. You guys got me here at 7 a.m. I went to sleep at like 3:45 and came here. So.
It's all right.
So my voice is jacked. I was at the rail spur last night and screaming, so like always.
Shout out to the rail spur.
Yes. So, 1989 is when the first skate park was actually constructed at Brimmer Park, just some metal ramps. Then in 2000, when Clay Sturman was killed, we did round 2, and then that's where, I've known Tony since I was 18 years old because I used to do a fanzine and stuff, and so Birdhouse used to advertise with me, so I've known Tony since like 1991. So in 2000, my homies went down to Vegas. I'd sent Tony an email because we were at one of those community gatherings to talk about skate park nonsense, whatever. And so this lady's like, I'm a mom, but I know who Tony Hawk is. And I was like, well,
everyone knows who Tony Hawk is.
Yeah, I was like, well, I actually do.
One of the best.
So I actually do. And so I sent Tony an email. And then my homies went down to Vegas for the weekend. And our friend Steve Barra, who we met on a road trip, who ended up marrying Juliette Lewis and runs the barracks now. So we met him. And then he was riding for Tony at the time. And so my buddy Juice, who I got the tattoo this week, we got matchy matches. We've been friends for 40 years, and so we got life and death tattoos. So anyways, I
like that.
So not to digress from that.
It really is nice.
So Juice ran into Steve, and then Steve brought Juice to Tony, and so Juice and Tony are playing craps and stuff, and Juice is like, hey, did you get Richard's email? And he's like, yeah, I saw it. He goes, does he want a hard copy or an email? And I was like, I want a hard copy. So Tony actually wrote me a letter of recommendation to give to the city or to the Parks and Rec department, so that I could have at least some credibility. And then when Tarek and them started going, because I've been through 9 generations of skateboarders. It's weird. I'm waiting for the first person that I skated with, the grandfather and the grandson or granddaughter now. And so I'm waiting for that one. I've done several kids, I've done multi-generational there, but in 2004, the city council, after the downtown Depot Plaza was built, everybody was grinding everything, and so they was tearing up the plaza, so they made skateboarding illegal downtown. And then there was a lot of businesses that were down here at the time that didn't like it as well. So just like Tarek said, it didn't have the street features. We had all the metal ramps and stuff, but not the street features. And so Parks and Rec came up to me. I'd always been wanting to chop at the bit, to fundraise, because I was like, I got this, don't worry. And then they're like, okay, Richard, don't disrespect your friend's family, that just had their son die because they just gave a huge donation. Right. So, but this time, cut loose. And I'm like, okay, you got it. So from 2004 to 2006, me and about 30 kids, because I think I was 31 at the time. Yeah. And then all these are 12, 13, 15, 16-year-old kids. And we're out there with buckets at every event, panhandling stuff. And then with the Tony, when we sent out our grant application, it was cool because the grant application said you weren't allowed to build onto an existing skate park. It had to be a new build. And so I was like, we didn't even meet the grant requirements, but Tony and this other guy that runs the Tony Hawk Foundation, his name is Mickey Vukovich, and they looked at the application, saw it, and then we got $25K, but it was awesome because Tony said it had to go into a street plaza. So we already had the bowls paid for, but it went into the street plaza. So we got everything done all at once. And so it was super sick. And then, and then that's how I kind of got into politics as well. Cause Johnny was asking me before the show about my dad's role in my life and stuff. And so when I was doing the ribbon cutting at the street plaza, my dad just came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, you do such a good job rattling the cage on the outside. Let's see what you can do on the inside. And so it took me back even this last week with the animal shelter. I know you read that I was on that board. And so the animal shelter thought they were putting me on blast, with their petition and stuff. And I'm like, 40 emails, really? Off a petition? I was like, in 2005, I was on 14 message boards in MySpace, and I shut down the city email server. I had Mayor Kaysen, who was 2 mayors after the mayor that was fighting me on the skate park, and Mayor Kaysen told me, he's like, Richard, I'm still getting emails about saving the skate park. So I shut down the city email server pretty much from spam.
Yo, give it up for Rich. this is what I'm saying. This is why we wanted to start WyOriginal, because everybody in Cheyenne is always like, oh, nothing happens here, nothing's going on. But it turns out there's a bunch of cool stuff going on that people don't know about. Did you know that our skate park was funded by Tony Hawk himself?
The legend.
The legend, all thanks to Rich. And Rich, I want to say something, man, because this is one of my favorite parts about you. I really mean it when I say you are what government should be. Agreed. Because you are this punk rock dude with tattoos on your arms, all this stuff, just rattling the cage from the inside. Dude, I have a funny story. I haven't told you this. So you remember in December, we did the Comedy for Camilla show with Christopher Titus.
Right.
So Christopher Titus, legendary comedian, had that show on Fox Titus. He came in and did a stand-up show at the Lincoln, and we raised money for the Camilla shelter, right? Nice. Now, here's the thing. Titus knows he's coming in to help the homeless, right? He comes in, and Rich is drunk off his ass. Titus gets in. I'm escorting Titus to his room, and Rich comes in, and all I hear is, this is my Richard impression. Damn you motherfucker, you just said that I don't get with your shit. Like that, right? He's just screaming at me and Titus, right? And Titus looks over and goes, who is that? And I said, you wouldn't believe this, but that is our city council president. And I'm not making this up. Titus looks at me and he goes, oh, you guys elected a homeless guy to city council president?
Shout out to No Filters.
And I was like, you'd think that, but no, that's the coolest part. Is because you don't have any kind of filter. You don't have anything holding you back. And so you are this super rambunctious dude. And I think that's the only way to make a legit difference.
See, I I thought you were going to throw out about my pedicure for Christopher Titus.
Wait.
So when he came up the stairs and I was on the stage, well, actually I was on the stage, but I was laying on my back and I had like neon pink toenails. And so people were putting money between my toes. And so Robin from Camilla, the director of Camilla Shelter, I'm like, come on, Robin, take him out of my feet. Take him out of my feet. And so Christopher Titus walks up to me. He's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so he may have thought a homeless man was the president. Yeah, when I had literally dollar bills sticking out of my toes, waving them at the director. Wow. That's how Christopher Titus met me.
No, hilarious. And just so everyone knows, I don't know Rich. I think this is my first time meeting him. I may have mentioned in passing before, but this is my first time meeting him. But I agree with him, and I've always had these talks, about politics. I feel like somewhere along the way we all went down this road of we want our politicians and our leaders to be these perfect figures. I'm like, but I don't want that. Like, you've made no mistakes, or not that you've shown.
I've no.
Exactly.
I've made several.
Exactly. Don't we want leaders who have lived that can, I want you guiding me. Help me avoid, mistakes and things because you've actually lived them, not because you think you know better than me. Like, I like that. I think you're a perfect example of the type of leadership we need. So.
I guess that's why I'm here today. To talk
Absolutely.
I was actually glad to call, and I get the message about decriminalization of marijuana, right? So I get this message, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh man, he's coming on the show. I'm gonna call him. Let me see what's good. Because ever since I've known Richard, right, he's had no filter. No filter. And that's what I loved about him the most. It's just like every time he comes around, his presence, he is a present. Unwrap it every day, man, because he is letting you know, I'm here. I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt about that, or this doesn't feel great at the moment. Yeah, but that's the facts. And that's what I've loved about Rich ever since I've met him. He's been great. I give him a high standing. You know what I mean? Like, more people should get familiar with this guy because he has a lot to offer and can be more helpful for you in this community.
Yes. And Rich, on that, so let's talk about this whole thing of decriminalizing marijuana, because we can try to cut to this thing. I was happy when I heard that this was possibly on the ballot and everything, but then they run a article that's just your face. Do we have a picture? Wes, do we have the article? It's
no, that's the hard copy.
And it was literally like the title of the article might as well just have said, nope. Like, that's it.
Yeah, with me smiling.
Yeah.
He looked like he was in his class picture, like he was taking this picture.
Oh no! If you're gonna give props, Carla Walden, if you guys know her, she actually.
Oh, great photographer.
Yeah, Carla took that photo for my campaign, so that's what I gave to the paper.
Honestly, great photographer. Shout out to Carla Walden. She's amazing. If you need to use her, she's great. But back to her.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into this. So long story short, for the people that don't know, so Richard Johnson here and Scott Roble, his co-sponsor, they sponsored an ordinance that will repeal and create the code provision specific to prohibiting marijuana in this municipality. So we're going to skip a lot through this article that did not go well, or it did not get approved.
Correct. Yeah, in committee last Wednesday, it was 5-2.
5-2. So
No, don't throw shade. I already knew what I was doing before I brought this forward.
I know. And so here's my question. So I've been living in Wyoming off and on since about 2007, and I kind of know the people, and I know what they like and what they don't like. So like you said, you kind of knew that this was gonna happen. So what was your intent on the bill? The conversation.
Nice.
I love it. And even people at the end of some of the articles that I read, they all said that it's inevitable sooner or later that marijuana will be legalized here, not just decriminalized. And there's a big difference. And I'll let Rich explain the difference between decriminalizing and it being illegal. But it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
That's a fact.
So why do you think we're still at this part of just a straight up no, not even a discussion?
Why do I think it's important?
No.
Or what?
Why do you think we're still at no? Even though
why do you think we're still at no? Okay. I mean, I actually don't know, because it was awesome at council last Wednesday when we did our committee a whole. The University of Wyoming did a study from Wyoming voters a couple of years ago, like 2017. And 87% of the people in Wyoming actually supported medicinal. They support it in medicinal. They don't want to go full rec.
Right.
Yeah.
They support medicinal. And so when everybody came, and it was like every walk of life. I mean, you could have every age group, every color of skin. Everybody was like at this meeting. It was like the most diverse city council crowd I've ever seen.
Nice.
So it was super amazing. And so anyways, what they when they did that study, 87% of the people in the crowd were proponents and 13% were opponents. Wow. And so, but like I've been working on this since September. My homie lives in Wichita, Kansas, and so she sent me this. And it's funny, this guy's last name is Johnson as well. He's a council member down in Wichita, Kansas. And so Kansas is neither medicinal or full rec. They haven't done a ballot initiative either. And so Wichita was very similar to Wyoming, that it was still against state law, but they went and decriminalized it. They have a little different forum because they can do what's called a referendum, that they put it out to the voters like in a kind of a citywide poll, which we can't do under Wyoming state statute. But they put out a poll. The people came back and said, yes, we would support this as far as decriminalization. And so the city council brought it forth to decriminalize in Wichita. So I wrote to the council member down there, and then he sent me all of his data that he had gone with these conversations. So I read them, but Wichita's drug codes were way different than Cheyenne's. Gotcha. And so ours were way more restrictive, and I'll get that in a minute of why I went and repealed everything. But so I just got my email, totally different format, went in on my birthday, just said, hey, can I have every reference to marijuana and paraphernalia in city code? So I got it, and then that's what even in one of these articles, I've done so many of these in like the last 2 weeks, but in one of them, it's so interesting because the city attorney back in the late 90s or early 2000s had to be working with the DEA to write this code because it is so finite. The descriptions are so scientific and the word choice is so poor. Like, it's not plain speak. Law is supposed to be plain speak. And so if I was a law enforcement officer, I wouldn't be able to do this. And so it's funny that kind of going into what Wednesday happened, like, we would like to reform the paraphernalia code. The city council was in agreement that we needed to go because there's a little bit of overkill. But I'm kind of like wanting to leave it there because there's this one provision on paraphernalia that if you go to city court, that it says that you could ask your judge, it's like, did you go through the 14 points of whether this was actually paraphernalia? And at the end, so it's almost like being Miranda'd on paraphernalia. You're just like, I know per city code in section 9.20.010C that it says here's this part that says 14 points need to be determined for paraphernalia. So you could probably get your paraphernalia dropped knowing that they didn't do it. You know? So, so some of it I'd like to keep. But
shout out to great writing.
Yes. Also, if anyone would like to hire Rich as their lawyer,
Right now is a good time.
no, like, I mean, it's funny. The city attorney tells me that a lot. She's just like, Richard, why didn't you go to law school? You'd be a fantastic lawyer. You ramble on all the time, and you can just like Rolodex like crazy, sections of code and stuff.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, it's good stuff, but yeah, I'll let you guys kind of feel so I don't take on everything.
No, it's great to hear all this information because I would have never known about the 14 points, so now I got something on my side.
That's serious. Well, let me ask you this, man, because you said that what was it? You said 87% of the people over that 87% were for decriminalization. Do you think that a huge problem is that young people just aren't voting or being active? Do you think that's the problem?
No, because I've been involved in so many things. I've also been involved in felony reform to get reinstitution of voting rights back for felons. So like that was when you asked me that, I was like, wow, why don't people vote? So I've even been involved in that part of life as well.
Yeah.
And so I don't, as far as like apathy, I know a lot of people that just don't vote that are even my age. And so I don't really think it's, whether it's a specific, like a millennial, Gen X, boomer, whatever the hell you call them, every group has its little nickname, but, a lot of people just don't, or they don't understand it, or really a lot of them are just like, I don't even give a shit about these people on the ballot. And that's probably how I won the first time, just like your punchline at the beginning is my name's Dick Squared, so go figure. That's funny. And then,
well, okay, I got. Let me tell this true story real quick, and you'll know this. I think Angel, you were a sponsor on this show. Okay. So back in 2010, me and Hamilton Bird, shout out Hamilton, our top sponsor for WyOriginal,
our first,
and I got sponsor. Our first sponsor. I got a fantastic story about you and this, and it relates. So I was working at the radio station, and Ham was bringing in Tech 9 for the first time, 2010. He was bringing in Tech 9. Now, here's the thing. Hey, this was 10 years ago. Nobody's that was working for the city at that time is working now. Please don't take any offense to what I'm about to say, but it is all a true story. The thing is, so here's what happened. We get Tech 9. Right, and we don't have a venue big enough to hold them because the Lincoln wasn't a venue yet, right? And so, and the Civic Center, you don't want to have everybody sitting down during Tech 9. So the thing was, we were like, what are we going to do? The only venue big enough was the Cheyenne Ice and Event Center, right? That was the only venue, so we reserved it, and we got it. Everything's good. We got word from the city that they were like, they literally said the words, "We don't want Tech 9 to come. We're not allowing this." And they literally said, their reasons were, they gave us a list of reasons. Here was the list of reasons. Number one, they said he talked about marijuana. That was one thing that they didn't like about it. Okay. Two, they said that he was named after a gun, and that made them uncomfortable. And number three, they said that they were worried it was going to incite violence. So here's what happened. Hamilton and I went to the mayor himself, right? Nice. And here's the funny thing about being in Cheyenne is anywhere else you'd think that's impressive. We literally walked into the mayor's office. He was eating Subway, and this was, I don't remember do you remember the mayor in 2010?
Yeah, it was Kaysen.
It was Kaysen, yeah. But anyway, the thing was we walked in, he's like eating Subway, and we're like, can we talk to you? And he's like, sure, have a seat. Yeah, why not? So we sit down, we say, hey, here's the thing. Here's the list you gave, but here was our rebuttal. Said, number one, you said he talks about marijuana. Well, guess what? You know who's been to Cheyenne Frontier Days a bunch? Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is the only dude on earth who can outsmoke Snoop Dogg. Okay? So, and this dude's been arrested for having marijuana. So I don't really think that's a real problem. Number two, you say that he's named after a gun, Tech 9. We had the newspaper. You're like, at the Ice and Event Center, you had the Cheyenne Gun Show. Whoa. And the label for the Cheyenne Gun Show was, "The Cheyenne Gun Show will blow you away," with a picture of an AK-47.
Shout out to our Second Amendment.
Yes.
Shout out to our Second Amendment.
And then third, we were like, you said it's going to incite violence. You have MMA matches here. They were doing, where people are getting paid to fight each other. And look, and here's the thing. This was in Kaysen's defense. I actually became a fan of him. Yeah. He sat down and he went like this. He went, boys, because we were boys at the time. I mean, we were like young. Yeah. I was 21 years old. He goes, boys, listen. I appreciate everything you're saying, and I agree with you. He's like, you know the problem, though? He said, the problem is I'm a mayor and my boss are the people who vote for me, okay? And he's like, you know who vote for me in this town? Old people. That's old people are the ones who give me my job. And so the thing is, he's like, if younger people like you would actually go out and vote and have a say in getting me in my position, then I would owe you guys something. But he's like, the truth is, you guys don't vote for me. So if I make you happy, but I make the old people upset, they're the ones who tell me I don't get a job next time around. And he's like, so if you really want cool stuff to start happening in the town, you need to tell kids your age who are interested in it to get out and vote so that we can do this. And I'm not kidding. His level of transparency when he said that, I was like, holy shit, you are right. And the thing was, he was cool though. He was cool in that he was like, he went in and he was like, let him have the show. Let him have the show. And so we got to bring Tech Nine in. It was a great show and all this stuff. But the point that he made was, it was so good. He was like, we always complain from anybody between 18 and like 40 that like this town does nothing, but the old people are super satisfied, you know, and it's because they're the ones who put the politicians in.
Yeah, that's such a bullshit answer he gave you.
Really?
But, I mean, no. I mean, honestly, like
I was just about to ask, Richard, what do you think about that? Go ahead.
It's all right. I mean, yeah, he's
Explain.
so. But no, at the end of the day, though, I like what Dom's saying about that story because that's another reason for WyOriginal, right? We want to have this voice. We want to give our youth and our people out there that want more to happen to start getting involved in these conversations and go vote. That's how we pass the baton, right? That's what we was talking about, passing this baton so that we can have these opportunities, have these platforms elevate to heights that we know they can because we're with each other. Our community is coming closer together. So that's a great story, and I guess that was an amazing jewel he dropped.
Rich, I want to know.
Shout out to Rich for like feeling how he feels.
Why is that a bullshit answer? I want to know. I want to know.
So it's a bullshit answer because literally across the board, I mean, I've been in politics now for 10 years, and I could tell you that I meet people that are like in their 70s and 80s that are still pissed. And so like, I mean, they're like,
You
Richard,
are not lying, bro.
And so like, it's awesome, especially why I'm here today in regards to this. I've had a lot of people like in their 70s and 80s. And like my parents went to the eye doctor for Christ's sakes on Thursday after this thing came out on Wednesday. And they ran into a lady that's older than them. My parents are in their mid 70s. And she's like, when's your son running for mayor? She goes, man, does he like stir up some shit.
I love it.
And so like, and so no, it's like, because that's what nobody could ever understand, like where I fell into the scheme up there on the dais. They never understood. They're like, how the hell does this guy get voted in? And it's because I did. I had 9 generations of skate park. I've been at metal, rap, every concert, you know, in this town. You know, I'm always at like some kind of event. And so, and you know, Desiree, she's on Art Cheyenne as well. And so Desiree one time.
Shout out to Desiree.
Shout out to Art Cheyenne too.
It was rad. She just, one time, a friend of hers wanted to run, and he's like, well, if Richard can do it, I can do it. She's like, he is involved in so many subsectors of this community. It's like, you don't even know. It's like, Richard doesn't, you know, it's like, yeah, he may look like a skate punk metalhead guy, whatever, but she's like, he's in so many subsectors of the community that they all like know him and stuff. So yeah, it's a bullshit answer because literally, no, and it's funny because we shouldn't be counting votes. If a politician literally is counting votes, that's another reason it's a bullshit answer. If he's counting votes, then that means he's not doing his goddamn job.
He's only worried about getting elected.
Yeah, he's only worried about getting reelected. He's not doing the work. Like, whenever I bring shit forward, it's like, no, I'm not seeking reelection. It's like, if it happens, it happens. I view elections as job performances. If I'm doing my job, then the people will vote for me. If the people think I'm doing a shitty job, they're not going to vote for me. So it's really a job evaluation. So that's a horseshit answer on its principle.
Well, you know what? I definitely want to give a round of applause.
I like that answer.
Because that's why I like Rich. No filters, right? But still in all, I still like the jewel in that because it's like, we need to be more active though. Regardless of what, you know,
Agreed,
that being a bullshit answer or whatever. At the end of the day, we complain. We see things happen, and then here comes more negativity than positivity, right?
Right.
So let's start showing more love. You know, let's start like coming out and being like, yo, that was amazing, that was great. Not just looking for pats on the back, but looking for like, hey, yo, encouragement.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's the right way to put it. So I think it's all good. You know, to have all these great points.
Still a message for the young kids to go vote. And I'll be honest, I used to be one of those. It's like, oh, that my vote doesn't mean anything, but as I get older and as I got more involved and understanding what's going on, I definitely recommend, and don't just blindly vote. That's not what I'm saying. Go research some things. Even if, and I've learned, I used to get frustrated with it because my parents are those people, staunch Democrats from Texas, and they are the one issue voters. Right. Like, this is the one thing that I agree with this guy on, and it means the most to me. Even if it's that, I would encourage that better than just blindly voting or not voting at all.
Shout out to that. That's a fact.
But so Richard, before we get off this topic, so I do want you to go into a little bit more about decriminalization versus making it not illegal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much, it's very interesting what's happened in 2023 with decriminalization. What it does is it doesn't make it legal. So it's still illegal. It's funny. It's still illegal at the federal level, and it's still illegal at the state level. And so that's why I could get past the Wyoming home rule when I got called out on the constitutionality of this. They're like, you're violating the Constitution. You're violating your constitutional oath. No, that's not true. It's still illegal in the state. So, and really on the computer in the cop car, they just hit another button. So instead of like hitting it to go to municipal court, it would go to district court. Because Biden already put it out, whenever date it goes into effect, that any federal marijuana charges are just going to be pardoned. Like, so he's already, so your U.S. Attorney's office, you can't go there for court. If I get rid of the city court, that you can't go there, that leaves, the DA's office. And I know Sylvia personally, and Sylvia would come up to me at Albertsons and she'd be like, what the fuck, Richard? And so I just laugh, but like, whatever, Sylvia should take the DA's job then if you didn't want. And I was like, Ed, you told me twice that you voted for me, so fault's on you. So as far as decriminalization, what it does is pretty much I took a court out of the system so that, like, for common misdemeanors in the city of Cheyenne, like a paraphernalia and possession ticket, there's roughly around $350. And so most people just pay it, even though I hate that the ticket admits guilt, a lot of people just go down and pay the $350 and get on with their lives. The city really doesn't issue a lot of these citations. I think we issued like 235, citations that were on this. So the city generated about $80,000. It's awesome. Another bullshit answer that you should never let a politician tell you is that so when it comes to especially with law enforcement, they're like, hey, you guys are slipping on revenue, go issue more tickets. If anybody goes, wow. I mean, this is like so illegal. Like, this is what actually the Ferguson thing happened in Missouri is because of this exact thing that they were putting a crackdown to get more revenue into it. And so all kinds of cases came out of Ferguson. So that's why if anybody's like, well, we're short on revenue, so we're going to go give more tickets. No, you can't do that anymore. Like, you're in so much violation, like after these Ferguson cases and stuff. So going back to like decriminalization, if you take that court out of it, so say a law enforcement officer pulled you over and say you had like a roach or something in your ashtray, even though I don't think cars even have ashtrays anymore. But, so
also no one calls them roaches anymore. Rich.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So you have your pen. Your pen's in the console. It's not a roach in the ashtray anymore. It's a pen in the console. So your pen's in the console, and so pretty much when the officer would say, they'd know that it was THC infused, and so. Pretty much, you're not even supposed to call it marijuana because that's a racist term, so you call it cannabis.
Oh, wow.
And so...
Hold on. Why?
I didn't know that.
Because it's basically, the word was invented to put into the Hispanic culture and to freak out white people. And so it's always been called cannabis. And so it's basically your marketing. You're always supposed to say cannabis instead of marijuana because marijuana is an archaic racist term.
So this is interesting because I've done a little bit of the history on the legalization of marijuana. Marijuana used to be legal up until the 50s, right?
I think the 30s is when all that prohibition crap with alcohol and everything, and that's where the whole racial shit came into.
Yeah, and
certain drug types were associated with certain demographic groups
because they were saying like the whole thing was the remember those videos. If you want to laugh your ass off, go back and watch like the anti-marijuana propaganda videos. Oh, they're so funny. I mean, it's like I saw one, I'm not kidding, it was two naked people and it was like a man and a woman, and like a man was like blowing like a windy tuba into like a woman's butthole. and it was like, this is not a normal act unless you're on marijuana. And it's like, whoa. Like, I agree with what George Carlin said, because it's funny that alcohol's legal but marijuana's not, right? Because he's like, when people drink, we all know there are people who get belligerent, there are people who get violent. You get behind the wheel of a car and things get dangerous. George Carlin was like, you know what happens when you like smoke weed is you get in your basement, you eat Cheetos, and you harm nobody. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
Like, you show me a guy in his mother's basement eating Cheetos, and I'll show you someone who's causing no harm to anybody. But they did a big, huge propaganda push to make it illegal. And you're saying that the term marijuana, they specifically used a Hispanic term.
A Hispanic sounding, like the lexicon, the vernacular.
Really?
So they developed a word that would sound like it was Hispanic to put that into the vernacular of American conscience.
Pastor, can I talk? But anyhow, it sounded like tuberculosis. A lot of BS. But my second one, you got more people that's against that. And that's funny. The older people in Cheyenne, they don't want that. Have you seen the streets in Greeley?
In Greeley?
Greeley. Down the street, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see this different?
You mean like Greeley's better, worse? What do you mean?
Well, the roads are better.
Yeah.
If you just look at across the street in Greeley.
Yeah.
It looks like it's moving.
And are you saying it's because they're all high in Colorado? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's really trying to get to is just like how it's bringing a lot of funding. And it's helping the streets, and it's helping put some money from that budget back into his community. And
look at John.
No. I feel what he's saying.
No, and so this is a really good point, because there's a lot of reasons to legalize marijuana, but one of them that Colorado's showing is the amount of money that it brings to the state. Can you speak on that, Rich?
Yeah, but I'm going to give an opposing viewpoint that was done on a cocktail napkin with me one night. So Colorado already had a pretty, as far as the roads, I could talk about that as well, but that has nothing to do with, that's whole Wyoming's tax base. But when it comes down to breaking it down, so me and a friend of mine were down in Boulder, and we were talking about this because he knew I was going to bring this forward. And so he calculated it on a cocktail napkin about how Wyoming could still fuck up legalization. And so it was awesome the way he broke it down. And because I've been this is what I even said a couple of days ago, that I was a normal petitioner in 2016 to get it on the ballot. And then I've talked to several legislators this last week about changing the petition process, because there's this 2/3 of a district thing. And so the Air Force the airmen can vote in our elections, but they're not allowed to sign a petition.
Right.
And so
I didn't know that.
So it literally takes them out of the equation. And so they're one part. And so what my friend did on the napkin is he said, okay, Wyoming has roughly around 475,000 people in it. So you take the people like the airmen and stuff that can't partake, right. I know they probably do, but they're not supposed to. Then you take your DOT people and everybody that actually has to get drug tested. So you take them out of the equation. Then you take the people that just aren't into it, that don't partake at all. So you take them out of it. And so he goes, roughly you're left with probably, after you whittle down everyone, you're left with 60,000 people. And then of course, Wyoming will literally then put it through the nonsense out at the liquor commission. So then they'll hire more people, because they're just like with the alcohol, it all goes through that one receiving center and then out to the rest of the state. So they would probably do a huge dispensary there. Then they got to pay for the security and all that nonsense. So, and then the staffing to work all the clerical work. And so the state could literally, with only 60,000 people in revenue, even no matter how high they taxed it, would still probably not even pay to get it out of the damn dispensary.
That's an actual valid point. We would literally hemorrhage money. I mean, that's not,
What a breakdown.
Well, wait.
I mean, seriously.
Hold on. And this is what I'm talking about, people. You need security at a venue where there's going to be people with alcohol. That's where you need people with security, because people are going to get rowdy. You do not need security for people on
at
pot.
All.
You don't. You know why? This is what you need. What you need is a bag of Skittles. If somebody If somebody's real high and they're causing trouble, you just shake the Skittles at them like a dog. They'll follow you out wherever, and then you just throw it in a kennel, lock them in there. They'll eat, be super, super happy.
I'm very comfortable now.
Dom, it's in the same building. The alcohol and weed would be in the same building.
All right, so go ahead.
I got one thing because we're asking all these questions. So I know my whole thing is, what is it really going to take then? Like at this point, like we know this and these people and it's not enough, or the young or the old. Like, what is this whole process, even with you working as hard and diligent with this effort, like what is it really going to take?
Okay. So, I mean, it is several steps, and Normal came up with a pretty good game plan that I'm not going to release because, I don't want to jeopardize that in any way. But they did come up with a pretty good alternate this last week after my stuff failed. But, yeah, I mean, pretty much what we need to do is we need to that's why I talked to the legislature or the legislators about changing the petition, because it's not only just marijuana rights, it's rights of all kinds. If people of Wyoming really want to get something on the ballot, there shouldn't be so many walls in front of them to get any, even if it's a topic that you don't agree with.
That's a fact.
Everybody should have their ability to go get a statewide petition, get the numbers, because that's what's happened with I think the last two Normal petitions is we had the numbers, but we didn't have the percentages in the House and Senate districts, and so that was what really killed us on both attempts. And so, and then 2022 they actually did get the numbers to get it on the ballot, but because of the districts they couldn't. So that's why you have to kind of talk to your legislators, but you have to talk from an educated point of view of why it's so essential to get, make modifications to the petition process. And then, of course, voting obviously helps, to get politicians that are a little more favorable to, if this is your one topic, like he said earlier, if this is your one topic that you're passionate about, I mean, I'm passionate about everything. So that's why I hate all politicians, is because nobody's going to agree with everything that I like. I could point out every flaw in every guy. I mean, it's weird with my ballot compared to your ballot.
Right.
I know everybody on my ballot, personally.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, because I'm gonna drop something that not a lot of people know about me. So, I'm actually sober. So
shout out to sobriety.
Thank you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not 100% sober. I still drink. That was never my issue. But I had a drug overdose when I was 19 years old. Wow. I was hospitalized. My heart stopped, and all that. So ever since then, I haven't used drugs. Right now. But I'm a passionate advocate because I have a loved one, and specifically for the medical use of marijuana. I have a loved one. I won't say their name, but they deal with very intense pain from something called endometriosis, a problem women have. That it's literally just intense pain. And if you look up how to treat it, they literally suggest learning the pain relief tactics that the military uses.
Wow.
There's no way to handle it. It's just unbelievably painful. And anyway, the thing was, I was talking to her and she was like, here's what sucks. You go to the doctor and all they're going to do is prescribe Vicodin. And the thing is Vicodin is essentially it's legal heroin. Right. So what she's like, I take the Vicodin and it gets me so high that I can't do anything all day long. It knocks me out. I wake up, my kidneys hurt, my this hurts, my that hurts, but that's legal, and that's the legal way that they make it happen. And she can't do anything, right? But she was like, the thing is she was like, if the only times that I've ever done, if she does now they have the medicinal gummies that she can take when you use THC or cannabis, it's been infused to just affect parts of the body to do body relief or whatever. Yeah. She's like, she was in Colorado. Somebody gave her one and she was like, the pain went away. I was still functional and there was zero hangover. There was no anything like that. She's like, it literally was the only thing that could take away the pain, make me feel better and still make me functional. And she said, when you think about it, if your choices are get high on Vicodin or get high on THC, the only difference is that one's legal and one's not. That's it.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's
so
a fact.
Remember, because the only reason I don't mean to segue my own show here, but Angel had a question about that, when we were talking about when you talked about gateway drugs, and so he asked me, and then I was like, no, hold up, let's do it for the interview. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. no, for sure, because I'm talking to people, and I'm trying to get their points too. I get them in the chair, and I'm like, how do you feel about this whole decriminalization? And it's just the main thing is it's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to all this, open up other doors. We're going to ruin our community. Everything's going to get torn down, and we're going to have a major problem.
If you want to use it, people are going to use it, whether it's legal or not. I think we know that now.
That's a fact.
If you don't want to, you don't want to, and I think it comes down to anything with, and I don't want to go down the whole freedom and what our freedoms are thing, but people, if you want to, people find a way. And I think they quoted it in the article of how many, Wyomingites drive to Montana if they're in the northern part of the state or down to Colorado to spend the same money to do the thing that they can't do here.
Utah.
And now Utah, exactly. And now Utah beat us to it, which is crazy.
Utah.
You can't even buy alcohol on a Sunday in Utah.
I know.
And they've made it legal? You're kidding me.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, going back to what you said, shout out to sobriety. I've been sober 8 months myself, man.
Hey.
So round of applause to everybody who's sober
Absolutely.
and doing fire things like that, because changing your life is a great thing. And shout out to my wife for helping me understand that.
That's great, bro.
At the end of the day, though, man, I've seen more people going through this recovery battle with doctors prescribing them opiates.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we're going through this constant battle of why America is addicted, right? It's not just addicted on marijuana. We got legal doctors out here telling people that, these drugs are going to help you, and then they're in rehab centers, right? I haven't really seen too many people in rehab centers for marijuana, or maybe I don't do my polls and statistics that well, but they're usually at the house on a video game, and everybody's hanging out, and everybody's calm. And they're not even drinking the liquor with domestic violence charges. And
making
the jails
fantastic
packed.
music, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shout out to making fantastic music. But, I see a lot of issues. Like, we're always going to have issues, right? But I think the process of what Richard Johnson is trying to accomplish, I'm not even trying, because, like I said, we don't try here. We do.
We do.
So what he's doing is, I think it's a great way to say, let's trust the process. Let's see if we have an issue after we go through this. And then if we do, then we go backwards, I guess, right? Yeah. But let's at least go forward to see if we would even have a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm seeing more problems coming out the hospital.
No, I mean,
that's what I had. I mean, that's why I wanted to answer his question on this. And so it's funny because we were dealing with I don't like to say affordable housing because so attainable housing. So the council a couple of years ago was working on attainable housing, and so we put up an apartment complex, and all these people in a certain, it's the NIMBY, not in my backyard, and so all of a sudden all these people came to a council meeting, and it's funny because I always hear about drugs, especially when we build apartment complexes, they just have this misnomer about them, and so it was awesome. We put in this housing, and all the people came from the neighborhood, and I remember Marion got so pissed at me because I lowered my mic, Madam Mayor, and she's like, Mr. Johnson, go ahead, and I go, you worried about your kids going to an apartment complex to get drugs? I was like, all they have to do is open the medicine cabinet. and I said this from the dais, and Marion's like, Richard, you cannot.
Let's go. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, Marion was not happy. She goes, you just called out a whole neighborhood and tell them that their kids are all oxy junkies.
I mean, but you're not lying. I mean, you're not lying.
And it was a massive difference from how they attacked marijuana, cocaine, and crack in the 80s and how to deal with the opioids, because it was a war on drugs for marijuana, crack, cocaine, things like that. It's not a war on opioids. It's we want to take you to counseling, like you said, rehabilitation centers, things like that. Like, it used to drive me crazy, and that's kind of like what got me rooted in following politics so much, is the difference between, and I know Joe Biden was a big proponent of that bill, of the war on drugs, but the difference between how they approached, and because I grew up in Houston, Texas, and my community was mostly Black and Hispanic. Everyone there, was on what they would say cheaper drugs, marijuana, crack cocaine, things like that. No one was on the opioids and stuff like that. I didn't even know what an opioid was, until I moved up here. And I'm like, man, this is just as big, but it's not huge. It's not a war on that.
It's huge.
It's want to be helpful. Anyway, I think we talked about drugs long enough on this podcast.
Well, Rich, since we do want to move on with all the other great stuff on the podcast, is there anything else you'd like to touch on this?
I mean, it'll all be edited, so Monday night will have already happened by the time
before it comes out.
So I already know the results. It's going to be a 7-3 on Monday night.
Yikes,
so they've already stated their arguments. I know I'll have a lot less participants in the crowd, that are going to be there. So I know that part, but then it's awesome because I could say one of my other zingers, it's just like, well, the reason that they're not present like they were on Wednesday night is because they felt their voice wasn't heard.
Right.
And then, so I already have zingers in my head for them. So.
That's a fact, man.
So what can the community do? Is there anything we can do? Anything that's helpful that we can help push this motion? Anything?
Not as far as the city level, but yeah, definitely keep an eye, in the next couple of weeks and stuff in regards to, other things going on with the state. It definitely did open up, the conversation in new, fantastic ways. So yeah, just kind of pay attention. Then of course, just like you said earlier, it's always essential to vote. But if you're this passionate about your community, run for goddamn office.
Right.
Like,
Let's
I mean,
go, let's go.
Like,
man.
be the change. Like he said, don't talk, do. That's what I always do. And I hate meetings.
That's what I love about you.
Yeah, so it's just like, do your job.
And I do have to say, man, it's awesome having you as a representative for the city. It's awesome, but you are a unicorn. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the typical, I wish this was a typical politician.
Yeah.
But this is not the typical politician. We're lucky to have you. We need more people like you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I got to go home and go to sleep, and you guys got to continue on with your show since I got 3 hours.
Hey, you're welcome.
I mean, actually, I would like you to stick around.
Yeah, you're welcome to
'Cause
stick around.
I mean, we got some interesting stuff to still talk about with our community.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really know much about like East High's.
No.
No, we're gonna.
I'm glad you bring that up. Shout out. Shout out to East.
Shout out to Cheyenne East, and I think everyone knows this part. Cheyenne East won the 4A basketball state championship. They beat Campbell County to claim that title this year. Head coach Rusty Horsley. Angel's gonna go through the players. I wanna because for me, like growing up in Texas, like our high school was massive. Our just to get to the playoffs was a massive accomplishment. Just to like get to the state finals, and I feel like every time you would win, your name was almost forgotten almost instantly. It's like so many schools in Houston, but this is such a big deal for me because I think these kids, these coaches, they put in so much work to get these things accomplished. And I know we have East listeners, Central listeners, South listeners. Regardless of what high school you go to, be happy that it's your state, because I don't know if people realize it. And for you guys that don't know, like I do a lot for the state spirit and cheer. Like I do dance I've done it for Central. I've done it for East last year. For some reason, the schools in Cheyenne get this bad rap. They really do get this bad rap. They almost get shitted on. And at least in my view, I can't say that for sure. At least in my view, it's almost like, they're from Cheyenne. Like almost like we're the bad part of the state. You know what I mean? And it's a little unfair because we do have three high schools. We're the only city that has 3 high schools. So we have to split our talent between the 3 schools. Sheridan has dominated at football for so long because they have these. I mean, and shout out to Sheridan, they won the football championship this year. They were beasts, But when you have the one high school that you can pour a proponent of your talent in, so we're spreading out our talent with East, Central, and South. So to me, it's a massive accomplishment for the Cheyenne East boys to accomplish what they did to win the 4A state championship.
Amazing, yeah, definitely. Shout out to that. I don't want to feel like I'm doing a draft day right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't really want to mess nobody's name up. You know what I'm saying? It's just a tough thing. But you want to highlight people, and you want to just say thank you for putting in that work. Thank you for listening to your coaches. Thank you for representing your state and your school and want to excel to the highest level you could possibly be. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So we'll start with Coulter McNally.
Coulter McNally, okay.
Garrett Scallops. Joey Rail, Nathan Mirich, Kale Lissaman, Brendan Bowman, Drew Jackson, Renton Jensen, Gavin Popham, Gamden Hayes, Angelo Lenart, Amiri Henry, Stockton Fertig, Kaiser Jolly. And then we're going to shout out 3 sophomores that were helping with the practices.
Nice.
To help through the process. We have Camden Hasler, Traindon Johnson, Noah Jackson.
Awesome.
Shout out to you guys.
So again, congratulations to you guys on an epic accomplishment on that.
I also want to highlight an individual that since I've came to Cheyenne that I've known for a while, who's an assistant head coach, Sly Johnson.
Okay.
And I want to highlight him because his dedication to the service of sports, being a coach.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think he always prided himself on if you can coach the talent, these kids, and get through coaching, you can get things done.
Absolutely.
And this isn't his first one. His first one was in 2006 with James Johnson.
Yep.
And, you know, Sly Johnson, I want to highlight him, and he is a WyOriginal because his dedication to the youth getting through and coaching, because I know coaching is an extensive amount of work. It's not just like, let's go dribble and run these drills. Like,
absolutely.
Getting through, being a staple in these children and these young men growing up to excel to the league. You know, because James Johnson is in the league. So I just want to take a few minutes to say thank you to Sly for putting in amazing work, as well as all the other head coaches as well. But just my personal experience, you know, I've dealt with Sly Johnson, and I appreciate his work and what he's done.
Awesome, good stuff. Also, another accomplishment for the city of Cheyenne. So, I'm not a metal. Rich, are you a metal? Do you listen to metal?
Yeah, but I've only seen Anti-Saint one time.
Okay, so he has more experience about Anti-Saint than anyone up here. I am not a metal rock fan. I have a lot of friends that love metal, but Anti-Saint, they're a local Cheyenne band, and they accomplished something massive. So come June, they landed a spot in I guess it's like their Coachella, I guess. And Anti-Saint, if that's not true, let me know, please. And you could be a guest on this. But I wanted to highlight them just so everyone knows it's not just rap and R&B that we care about.
Of course.
Anyone that's doing great things from this state or from this community, we want to shout them out. So Anti-Saint, they landed a spot, and it's called Download 20. So it's a metal festival. It's a massive metal festival. I think it's a pretty big deal. So according to the article, there's other bands: Hailstorm, Alter Bridge, Bad Wolves, The Warning, Avatar, a lot of huge acts, 9 Kills, Motionless in White, and the one that I actually do know is Metallica.
Let's go.
So congratulations to you guys. I don't know many. I don't know how big the other names are. They may be just as big, but I do know the name Metallica. I think there's not a lot of people who don't know the name Metallica. So to be on the board listed with them, I think that's a major accomplishment.
So you want to give props out to the lead singer for always having his shirt off and every single mom in the crowd.
couple things. Number one, as a metalhead, there is no one bigger than Metallica. All right? It's only Metallica. Also,
what about Kiss, though? What about Kiss? It was
no
more rock.
No, I'm just kidding. No. You know what's funny about Kiss? When I was a kid, I had a Gene Simmons doll, and he had like the painted face, and he had the big long tongue. And in my mind, because when I was a kid, I never listened to Kiss, but what I thought they sounded like they have like guitars that are axes, and they had like the huge shoes, and he like spits blood out of his mouth, and they have like a giant demon. I thought they sounded like Slipknot. I thought if I was gonna put on Kiss, it was gonna be like right? But then I finally hear them, and it's like, I wanna rock and roll all night. I was like, wait, this does
not. That's the
not.
difference between Detroit and Iowa.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to say Kiss, not to interrupt you, Tom.
Yeah.
It's just because my father-in-law is a huge Kiss fan.
No, the Kiss Army's huge.
I found myself wearing these Kiss T-shirts now. You know, it's like a family thing now. So shout out to my father.
No, Kiss is tight. But this is a huge accomplishment. I mean, Anti-Saint, for those who haven't seen, when Puddle of Mud came to the Lincoln, right? When Puddle of Mud came to the Lincoln, a lot of people were disappointed in the show. Honestly, like that show, no offense to Puddle of Mud, but a lot of people were like, wow, they were disappointed. But the big thing was everyone was like, Anti-Saint kicked ass. They opened up for him, and they came out, and a lot of it was the fact that like the lead singer comes out, takes off his shirt, and this dude looks like some people have a 6-pack, some people have an 8-pack. This guy had a Samuel Adams variety sampler. It was ridiculous, and he's just like, bruh. But no, they kicked ass. I mean, they really did. And now they're freaking opening up for Metallica. Are you kidding me?
Well, I actually thought they were opening up for Puddle of Mud as like on the tour. No, I didn't even know they were a local band.
Local dudes.
So that was why I was super stoked. And they did put on a better show than Puddle of Mud.
Big time. And speaking of metal, while we're on the subject, and Cheyenne News, Rich, I got to talk to you about this. I'm gonna call this out right now, and I want the behind the scenes thing. All right, for those who don't know, every year Cheyenne Frontier Days brings in a rock band, right? And this year it's Papa Roach and 5 Finger Death Punch.
Nice.
Now listen, Rich, this is between you and me, and we will elaborate. Was this because of us? Did we make that happen?
What? You mean, well, it was Jimmy Dean's last year. you know, he was the chairman or the general committee chairman of CFD last year. So when I got front stage, I know this is gonna sound so pompous, but when I got front, you know, for Jelly Roll and Nelly,
yes,
like, I was with Jimmy Dean, and Jimmy Dean had come up, and he's like, Richard, you know, we want to look at 5-Finger Death Punch for 2023, and I'm like, well, you don't have to go far. He just works on the corner of Snyder.
Yeah, okay. So check this out. Let me give an inside scoop on this.
Right around the corner.
Let me give an inside scoop on this. This is a true story. So for those who don't know, the lead singer of 5-Finger Death Punch has moved to Cheyenne. Yep. So he lives in Cheyenne. Now here's the thing. He's a really cool guy. I got a random call from JJ, shout out JJ at 93.7 KZ. JJ is one of the Appaloosa Broadcasting is awesome. They do 93.7 KZ, The Range, 104.9. But JJ is amazing, and I guess his agent was looking because he's bought the gas station, the corner shop on the corner of Pershing and this. Yeah. And anyway, they wanted to do a big grand opening. And so JJ was like, well, Dom does a lot of events. Why don't we plan a big event? And so they reached out to me, and I got to have a meeting with him, and I got to have a meeting with his agent. And the whole idea was we were going to do a big grand opening. Now, unfortunately, construction's taken a lot longer than they wanted, so it's kind of been pushed back a year or so. So keep an ear out for that. The project's still in the works, but the first person I call is Mr. Rich Johnson. Nice. And I go, hey, we're thinking about having a big block party. What needs to happen? Whatever. And Rich goes like this. Rich goes, you know, they're actually looking at trying to get 5-Finger Death Punch for Frontier Days. And I was like, wait, I literally just met with the guy. Are you serious? And so he was like, yeah, man, here's the thing, blah, 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 blah. Here's the info. I reach out to his manager, and I was like, hey, so I know we're doing this event. Just so you know, the city's interested in having 5-Finger. And she was like, that's great. Thanks for telling me. Focus on your job, please. Stop talking to me about this. We want to do this, you know. And I'm like, all right. I just want you to know. And I call Rich back, and I'm like, all right, things are going good. Just so you know, I told her about the thing. And I didn't hear about it. That was like 8 months ago. And then I opened the paper, and it says 5-Finger Death Punch playing at Frontier Days, and I wanted to call Rich and be like, you're fucking welcome.
that one I knew last Frontier Days. That's how I could tell you. But I don't know. On that, when you called me about that concert, I was so excited to do that one because I've done lots and lots of events, but I'd never done one that would probably have like 5,000, 3,000. And so I'm blocking off a major intersection as well. Yeah. So this was going to be a logistical nightmare. And so I was like so stoked to take it on. And then it was funny. You had to tell me, you're like, Richard, we got to push it back. I literally got approval across the city for this to happen. I was blocking off roads all the way at Randall and stuff like for a highway stuff. I mean, I literally had everything. I was working out with the transit system or not the transit systems because that's federal money, so you can't do it. But I was going to work with Visit Cheyenne with the trolleys so they could park and, you know, do a trolley ride to the venue at the street intersection from CFD. I was working with CFD, like all that stuff just to make this happen because I was like, when you tell me, you're like, Richard, expect 3,000 to 5,000 people in the middle of your streets, I was like, yeah, count me in.
He's like, oh, they're going to love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, shout out to Anti-Saint. Shout out to 5-Finger Death Punch. If anyone has connections out there, if you guys want to come sit down on the show, get interviewed, talk about it, please let us know. Absolutely let us know.
I do want to say this before we start heading out of here, right? You know, because it's great to have Richard on this show. Like, I really want to say thank you so much for considering coming. I didn't think I had to pull too hard, but I think it was just great for you to show up and get the information out, right? That's what WyOriginal is about, right? You know, sometimes you read things, you're not comprehending well, and you're just like negative. Right. So it's good to get someone behind the mic, understand, feel it out a little bit better, and I just really appreciate that. You know what I mean? I really appreciate you being here. Shout out to WyOriginal, man.
Shout out to WyOriginal. A big shout out real quick. I did promise I want to shout them out. Shout out to Stefan and Jessica Master Marino. So they are the new owners of Ruby Juice over on 17th Street.
Love that place. I love that place.
They are an amazing group of people. The kids are amazing. Our kids go to school together. They're from Arizona originally, but ever since they came up here, every time we have a discussion, the only thing that's always on their mind is they're big on community. They want to do big things. They want to help wherever that they can, you know. And if I'm not wrong, and Stefan, let me know if I'm wrong. What you listen to, because he's already an avid follower and listen to it. So this all came about. He went to go buy, because, I collect football cards and basketball cards for my son and stuff. And I've been doing this since I was a kid, and he's kind of the same way. He went to go buy just some football cards from this guy. That guy ended up being the previous owner of Ruby Juice, and they were just talking. They hit it off and everything. Nice. And next thing you know, he was like, hey, I think I want to, take this, So
nice.
Shout out to Jessica and Steph, and I look forward to working with them. WyOriginal working with Ruby Juice as we get off the ground and as they get off the ground as new owners. So shout out to them. We got any other announcements?
I have one thing that I need to get done real quick, and I need to do like a highlight again.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And we didn't do it on our first show, but I don't think we gave enough mention to Johnny Campbell.
Oh,
and honestly,
I agree.
I honestly want to do this because, you get friends that turn into family. You know what I mean? And this man has showed me a better walk in life as well. Surviving 8 strokes, 2 back-to-back heart attacks, living with no excuses, constantly getting up, fighting every day, pushing as hard as he can. And I just think he's a remarkable story for our community because he's a full inspiration. Wow. And I don't think we've given enough dedication to him as well. So shout out to Johnny.
Johnny!
I wanted to say I love you so much, man.
Johnny.
And, you are powerful for our community.
Johnny.
Yes, sir.
You survived 8 strokes? Are you serious?
8 strokes and 2 heart attacks.
Man.
My goodness, man. Were they like all back to back or they spread out? How'd that work?
Man, when I met, I think, Richard, and at that time, I had like maybe 3 that time. But then when I got older, it started adding up. And this last time, they flew me to Denver, and I had 2 heart attacks.
When was the last time? What was the last time, if you don't mind?
November the 23rd, was it?
So that's recent.
In the barbershop.
So that was recent.
Yeah, it was in the barbershop.
I was in the barbershop.
You're kidding. You were in the barbershop when it happened?
Yeah.
Man,
I plugged in.
do you know how much of an inspiration you are? You know how much of an inspiration you are?
And
Not just that you could endure all of that, but the fact that you could endure all of that and look this good. Are you kidding me?
Shout out to that. Let's give a round of applause to Johnny. Man. Straight up.
The original Black Panther, apparently.
So I really had to do that.
Absolutely.
We talked about us enough on the first one, or we can't ever talk about ourselves enough. But I just really, I started thinking, I was watching that first episode over and over, and I was just like, man, we didn't really get into Johnny too much. But I just want everybody to know out there, like, when you ever think about having an excuse or you're looking down, like, you don't have to. For how many chances he thought he wasn't going to be here, it wasn't his time, and he's using all his time correctly. He's enjoying himself. He's making a passion out of what he has left to give back. You know what I mean? And that's just a great inspiration. So shout out to Johnny Campbell.
Shout out to Johnny.
Love you, man. I'm glad you on our set.
Dom, you got any upcoming events? Anything you want to promo?
That's a good question. No, actually, you know what? I'm excited about this. Honestly, I'm taking a little break for the first time. For the first time in 3 years. Since the first time since I started my business. Since the first time since I started doing stand-up. My family and I are going out for spring break. We're gonna go.
Yes.
We're gonna go to the beach, and I'm gonna just try turning off my brain for a little bit. And I might come back with some exciting news. I don't know. I'm gonna tease y'all with that. That's gonna be a cliffhanger.
Well, shout out to your vacation with your family.
Absolutely. Shout out to your
for
family.
taking time out.
What about you, Rich? What can we expect from you coming up soon? Anything?
Well, hopefully I get to go to Israel and Egypt in October.
Nice.
Yeah,
Let's go.
It'll be like, yeah, it's crazy if I can pull this off, but yeah, I finally get to add my 5th continent. It's, so it's yeah, I've been to 5. Yeah,
this guy's amazing.
Yeah,
man.
so
But
yeah, as far as upcoming events, there is. Since Dom's here, my friend John T wants to do a roast for my 50th birthday. I turned 50 in November. And
No way.
He's wanted to roast me, like, and that's why. So I was kind of bummed when you told me you were gonna come in guns blazing at me. You just threw the dick squared that I've got ever since second grade.
No, sure.
Yeah, so like, I was like expecting you to come at me, but no. So yeah, if you want to get with some
Wait. So I can.
Let's go.
Can we do a WyOriginal roast of Rich Johnson?
You know what?
Yeah, we could talk to John and Renee because I know John wanted to talk to John and Renee to do it at the Lincoln.
I would love to be.
Listen,
I would love for us to be a part of that. Let's make it happen. Absolutely. I think this is a great opportunity.
No, I got one for you. This is a true story. This is Rich. Just so you know, I should save this for the roast. I'm not kidding. I made this little stupid video for YouTube. I do sketches sometimes, and most of them are me making fun of my girlfriend Cherie. That's like the biggest bit of it. And I did this one where sometimes I'll like dress up like her. And I was doing this thing where I was dressed up like her, and I was like, "You left the fridge open. Don't you know how to shut anything?" And I went, no, I don't. Maybe you could show me starting with your mouth. And then, no. And then the joke was I look around and all of a sudden I'm in heaven and I'm like, oh, she killed me. She murdered me. Oh, okay. Yeah, I deserve that. I deserve that for what I said. And I sent that to Rich. I sent the little thing to Rich, like the little sketch to Rich. And he texts back and this is what he says. I'm not kidding. All it says is, so she's single now then?
Whatever, I love Cherie.
Yeah, Cherie loves you too, man. She loves you too. She feels like you're like the only person who can really like see her. First time Rich goes up to her, he's like, listen, you don't got to talk. You don't got to say anything. I know you're with somebody who takes all the attention, but I just want you to know that you're a badass and I appreciate you. And then Cherie looks over at me and goes, he can come to dinner anytime. And I'm like, not after the text he sent me, he can't.
Well, no, that's why, when Angel gave his wife props earlier, there's so many partnerships that are so important in our relationship development. That Cherie, she does so good for you. Like you said, we just met today, so I don't know.
My wife is a big part of my life. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Shout out to our families for letting us do this. If y'all don't know, we record these. We were supposed to start at 6. We start right around 8:30. So shout out to our families. Yeah, we're getting better. We're knocking the time off as we get better. I would be remiss to not. I want to thank Zach. I know he's not in camera shot. Zach,
let's get in here.
Yeah, honestly, I was just waiting for the yank. I know we're gonna say goodbye, but when you hear our theme song,
that's him.
Our introduction and outro,
that's him.
Zach, aka Style Freeing, and we're gonna get more familiar why you're gonna know who Zach is, so we can get into the production and get producers understanding who Zach Freeing is, because we're gonna be in charge of some beats for our artists.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when you hear the theme song, shout out to Zach, Style Freeing.
Absolutely, big ups to Zach.
I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the opportunity. I did want to do my own shout outs real quick.
Go.
Ariana, Evan, love you guys. Lindsay's still in bed. Love you. Love you too, babe. I'll be home soon.
Yes.
Yes, definitely, man.
Hey, huge thank you to you and what you do. What you're hearing right now, the sound, the editing, all that is going to be done by this gentleman right here. All the important pre-production stuff to make it happen. Rich, thank you so much for coming on, man. Rich. And listen, for anyone out there, this is what this podcast is about. It's about highlighting our community. It's about highlighting Cheyenne, Wyoming, the world. If you want to come on, if we want to start showcasing local artists, local businesses, local musicians, local anything, we want to have you on. We want to hear all about it.
So can you do state as well?
Yeah.
Since it has Wyoming in the title instead of all Cheyenne.
No, we absolutely want to do state. And I'll be honest with you, if anyone has a better way, or if you have stories, you send it to our Facebook. I'm always looking for stories. Lander, Laramie, Casper, whatever. Send me stories, send us stories. We could talk about it.
And Richard Johnson, you're doing so wonderful in what you're going with your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And have I known you for a minute? I didn't sleep with you one time when Central, Cindy.
Yeah, no, that's Charlie said it. So no,
right?
No, but I'm just a city councilman. Yeah.
It sounded like slap. Like a plan.
And what is that? Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Richard Johnson is slapping them.
All right.
And I just want to say thank you to our WyOriginal Cast.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Dominic Syracuse. Thank you, Jarrod. And thank you.
Thank all of
for
you.
always giving us the hope, inspiration to keep going.
Thank you guys for listening, downloading, watching episode 1. We appreciate the love, the shares, the likes, everything, the invites that you guys sent out. And unless anyone has anything else,
we need to shout out. We need to tell people everywhere they can find the podcast, because we've been getting so much love on Facebook. We've been getting so much love on YouTube. But for those of you that don't want to watch the whole video and want to listen, where else can they find us?
absolutely. So we are live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google, almost anywhere that you listen to or want to listen to your podcast, wherever you get your fix, you can find WyOriginal there. Please go, download, follow, whatever you need to do. Also, keep track of our social media. We're gonna try to do our best to get that up and running a lot better, disseminating information on there as well. If that's it.
That's it.
Thank you guys for listening to the WyOriginal Podcast.
Thank you. Yo, good job. I think
Rich, thank
I feel like every time it's gonna be better than last time, man.